In this lesson, we will be learning how to find the volume of a right rectangular prism. Remember, prisms have bases on the bottom and the top, and we name the prism based on the shape of the base. So this is a rectangular prism, or a rectangle on the base, on the bottom and the top, so this is a rectangular prism. We call it a right rectangular prism because all the corners are at right angles. So volume, and I know you've learned this in science class and other places, volume equals length times width times height. So it's really just a matter of applying the formula. These aren't super difficult unless you are having problems with the fractions. So let's go ahead and fill in the measurements here. So we have our length right here is 4 1/2. And then we are going to, this is going to be our volume, multiply that times the width, which is this guy right here, so that's 5, and then multiply that times the height, which is this measurement here, so 3 3/4. Okay, so we know based on our lesson earlier in the week that we need to, in order to multiply these fractions, we need to do some changing to them. So these are mixed numbers. This one and this one are mixed numbers, and this is a whole number. So we need to change these mixed numbers into improper fractions in order to be able to do the multiplication. So let's start with the first number. To take 4 1/2 and make it into a mixed number, we need to multiply the 4 times 2 and then add 1 to that. So we're going to take 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and then we always keep our denominator. So we add with it, multiply, add, denominator, just like we saw in the graphic that I put on the slide. So let's do that with our other mixed number, this 3 3/4. We're going to multiply, 3 times 4 is 12. We're going to add 12 plus 3, we get 15, and then we keep our denominator, which is 4. And then we can make our whole number into a fraction, and we do that just by putting it over 1. Okay, so now that we have changed all our numbers so that we can find the volume, we just need to multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom. So 9 times 5 is 45, and 45 times 15 is 675. And then 2 times 1 times 4 is 8. Now, we have an improper fraction as our answer, but we have to change this back into a mixed number because that is the most proper way to write it. It's always want to reduce it and write it in the simplest form. So in order to find the mixed number for 675, we are going to divide, because remember the fraction part is just a division. So 8 into 6 goes 0 times, 8 goes into 67, 8 times 8 is 64. We're going to subtract that, we get 3, bring down our 5. Now 8 goes into 35 4 times. 4 times 8 is 32, running out of room. And when we subtract, we get, I'll write it up here, 3. Okay, so we have a whole number of 84, and then our remainder of 3 goes up here in the numerator, and we keep this 8, which is the denominator, we keep that the same. So that is our total volume for our rectangular prism. We need to put a label on this, so we need to put inches, and because it's volume, we need to put a cubed, or a 3 as on our label. So this is 84 3/8 cubic inches. All right, let's do one more, just so I can show you a little trick. So again, volume equals length times width times height. So our length here is 2 feet times our width, which is 1 1/2, times our height, which is 1 1/2 as well. All right, I'm just going to switch back to black because it's faster. All right, so let's change these mixed numbers into improper fractions. So our 2 becomes a fraction just by putting it over 1, times, and we need to use the MAD or MAD, so we're going to multiply, add, and keep our denominator. So the whole number 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3, and keep that over our original denominator, and multiply that times 1 times the 1 1/2, and we need to switch that into an improper fraction as well. So 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3, all over 2. Okay, so to solve this, we just multiply across 2 times 3 times 3, which is nope, that's not right. 18, sorry. 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 3 is 18. And then multiply across the bottom. 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. And then to find our answer, I'm going to go over here. 18 divided by 4. 4 goes into 18 4 times. 16, subtract, that leaves us with 2. So our answer would be whole number 4 with our remainder 2 over our original denominator of 4. This is not simplified. We can simplify this further. So we need to do that. Then whole number 4, and then 2/4 can, both 2 and 4 can be divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2, and we have feet cubed. So that's our answer. Now I wrote this up here so I'd have some room at the bottom to show you a little trick. Now, if I had stopped right here with my original problem, 2 over 1 times 3 over 2 times 3 over 2. Remember when we did division of fractions, when we had our keep, change, flip, and we ended up with the multiplication problem, we could cross-reduce ahead of time in order to make our math easier at the end. So I'm going to do that here. I can take this 2 and reduce it, cross-reduce it with the 2 down here. This becomes a 1, and this becomes a 1. I'm left with a 3 and a 2 and a 3 and a 2, so I can't cross-reduce anymore. So look what happens. I now have 1 times 3 times 3, which is 9. 1 times 2, which is 2. And then 9 over 2 can be made into a mixed number. 2 goes into 9 4 times. That leaves us with 1 left over, and we keep our original denominator, which is exactly, and we would have feet cubed, the same answer that we had here with a little less work. So if you can cross-reduce, if you're comfortable with that, go ahead and do that. That'll make finding your answer at the end easier. If that makes you nervous or you're just not feeling confident about that, that's okay too. You can just do it the original way like I did it up here. Sorry for the mess. Email me if you have any questions.